Right, hello everybody. So I wanted to go over the level design and the rubric for what we'll be making in our our platforming game that's going to have the boss battle on the last level. So I'm going to set up a lot of those things today, just some basics that you can follow along with to design your level. And remember, again, you can copy and paste levels. So if you have one level that you've designed, the second level, you can move things around, change some of the enemies, kind of use different assets. But that can save a lot of time when you're doing level design. If you were making a full scale game, you may want to think about like copying the different environments and things like that without having to go in and make them all the same. But for the purposes of this, it's a good introduction. So if we look at the rubric really quick, and I'll zoom in some so you can see, as far as this section goes, you have two levels that are going to have enemies, and we'll do the enemies in another lesson. But this will be basically the character will need to be able to jump around the level, land on platforms, get to the end, and then move into the next level. After the second level, they'll go into the third level, which will be the boss battle. You'll have, for full credit, you would need to have enemies that can hurt the player. And also, if the player falls off the bottom of the map, then they would either have to start over and lose a life, or you could just have them restart. For the purposes of my game, I'm gonna have them lose a life, so they'll have 3 lives. And if they miss it, then it's gonna restart the entire application if they run out of lives for each of them. So that's what I'm gonna show you how to do today, at least for the level setup. So what you'll see here is I have my frame, and again, the frame is going to be 1920 by 480. So it's going to be a standard size. The difference is this is basically going to be 3 frames. So if I go into, I'm going to use kind of the library, at least for this beginning part. So I'm going to go in, I'm just going to use Spyco. So remember, you click and you drag Spyco into the frame. Okay, I'm also going to use some very basic backgrounds for this. And I'm kind of going for a space theme. So again, if I go into the games here, you're gonna see this object here that says space and backdrops, and I'm just gonna drag this in. So again, I can do this about 3 times. And again, for demonstration purposes, this won't be perfect. It's just to illustrate it. So I have 3 frames here. And then my next step is I'm going to add. If I go back here and I find Spyco, you can see if I double click it, I can edit things with the images. You can see all the animations that are right here. But again, I'm going to keep that pretty basic for now. And the next thing that I'm going to do is add some platforms. So if I go into games, I can go into game objects 2. Might go with like an industrial theme here. And if I have Spyco, the best way that I've found to save myself some time and kind of design levels quickly is to just hit copy. So if I right click on the object and hit copy, now if I hit Control V as in Victor, you can see that I can just, it'll make this sort of crosshair like this, and then I can just place the level. So if I'm going for speed on this design, this is something that I can do really quickly to make it a full level. So I'll just have something like this. And again, I'm not putting too much thought into the planning of this level right now. I'm just trying to get some of the items here. Okay. So if this is going to be a platforming game, I'm going to have this. This is what Spyco is going to use to jump and to move around the level. And then I'm going to want some sort of goal that Spyco will have to maybe get to the next level that I can use to kind of copy and paste it. So if I am right here, I'm gonna pick again. We've used this a lot in this class, but I think it's effective. I'm gonna pick a gem, and I think I'm gonna pick this gem right here. So I'll just put this like right here. And now I'm kind of ready to start my conditions and getting some of the elements here. Now, one thing at this point I'm going to add is lives for Spyco. So if I do insert a new object, I can do that 2 ways. I can go to insert right here, or I can right click, click insert object. and then I can find it. I always just go alphabetically, and I'll pick lives right here. Okay. So a few things. One of them is Spyco right now is this 8 directions movement. So I will want to click on Spyco, click on the blue running person, and then what I'm going to pick right here is going to be platform. So that's going to give Spyco gravity. And the rest of it I can pretty much go with, because I'm not having the enemies for this section. I can go and add the conditions for Spyco now. So if you go up here, you'll see the event editor and you'll see the event list editor. So the first thing I always like to do is go in and just add my conditions. So if I click here, I'm going to right click over new condition. I'm going to pick Spyco. Again, the most common thing you're going to see in a game is a collision and then another object. And I'm going to pick this. Now, the only thing I really need to happen is when Spyco encounters that, he is going to stop. So he's not going to fall through the floor. Okay, make sure again you go under the Spyco column right here so that you can follow that he won't follow through. And again, after I make each condition, I kind of just test it so you can see, and I'll move this onto our screen here. You can see now my jumping for Spyco is not very good. He's not going to be able to make that jump. So I'll have to change a few things, but at least I know that that condition works at this point. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up the collision with the gem because I know that that's going to allow Spyco to go to the next frame. So again, collision, another object. I'm going to pick the gem. And because I know that that's what I'm going to be doing, if you go to the storyboard controls here and right click, you're going to hit next frame. And that is going to allow Spyco, when he gets to that goal, to get to the next frame. Now, another aspect of this is whenever Spyco falls off of the platform, I will need it to take away a life and then respawn Spyco. So that condition will look like this. If you go to new condition, I'm going to click Spyco and you're going to see this option that says position. So the first location, it says test position of hedgehog. And I know that in this case, it's just going to be Spyco when they hit the bottom of the frame. So in other words, when they fall and they hit this, it's going to something is going to happen. In this case, what's going to happen? You'll see this condition here. It says when Spyco leaves the play area on the bottom. The first thing you want to do is you want to destroy Spyco, okay? Because that will allow it to kind of reset. The second thing, and a lot of people will go here where it says lives, but really what you want to do is go to this player one column. And if you right click, you're going to see this say number of lives and then subtract from the number of lives. I'm just going to type in 1 right here. I'm going to hit OK. And lastly, I need to respawn Spyco. So if I go to this column, it says create new object. I'm going to hit create object. I'm going to pick Spyco. And be careful, don't click on Spyco right here because it'll throw the computer into an infinite loop and they won't respawn. So I always just click like a little bit above the character or where I want them to respawn, and then I'm going to hit OK. All right. So now when I go this way, and again, I'll move this onto the screen. Here's my character. You can see Spyco now. It can't really jump, but if I fall, there you go. You get Spyco. And again, now you can see like if I keep falling, it's just going to make an infinite, like I can do that as many times as I want. So I will need to reset that and do a couple of other small things. The first thing is I need the computer to scroll. So to make scrolling, when you click on special right here, you're going to click this term always. And then you'll go under this column here that says storyboard controls. You'll right click and you'll see an option that says scrolling. I just picked the first one. You center the window position in the frame. And the easiest way is if you click on the character, you'll see it switch right here where it says relative to hedgehog. And then you'll click OK. All right. The next thing is I am going to go to this player one joystick. It's going to say player one, and you're going to say compare to players. I always just pick this one. You could hit number of lives equals 0. And at that point, you go in here and you go to the frame that says this, and I'm just going to hit restart the application. Okay. So at this point, my game will at least play. And you can see, like, as I fall, there's going through this. And when I fall in the third time, it's going to restart the full application. But in this case, it just finishes because I didn't run the application. So I'll do that one more time and you should see it because I just did run frame. So there we go. 1, 2, and then it restarts. You can see my lives reset. All right, now for the final parts, I do want to go in and I'm going to change some of the movement options just so I can get through the level. So if I am on Spyco and they're right here, you can see I have movement, I have platform, but I'm going to change a few things in the gravity and the strength to make it so that Spyco can make these jumps. So I'm going to change the gravity to something like 10, and I'm going to leave it just like this. Okay. So when I hit run application now, and I'm going to show you, you can see Spyco now has a lot more jumping ability. And as I'm going through the level, it's right here, and you can see that I can now make all of these jumps, which looks just like this. Okay. And I've already set up this condition. So when I hit this, it's going to end the application. But what I've selected is that it's going to go to the next frame. So the way that I always do this is if I have this frame here, if you go to this storyboard editor, if you click right here, I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna hit copy, and then I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna hit paste. And so now if I click on frame 2, all of my conditions are still here, everything is good, and I really just need to maybe change some things visually to let me know that this is working. Okay. So what I'm going to do to make sure that it works is I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the background. I'm going to change something about the background. So I'm going to put in these like background objects right here. And what I think I'll also do is you can see I have this frame here. And I'm going to change the color of the background. So I'm going to make this like this green color. And then when I add these buildings, it'll look a little bit like you are in some kind of like outdoor environment, something like that. So again, maybe it doesn't fit my theme too much, but it is something that I can use as like a basis. All right, so let's test it really quick and just make sure the platforming works. And then we'll do the boss battle and the enemies on the next lesson. So there I go. Okay, I'm going to jump. I'm going to try to do this really quickly. Again, I'm just moving through. There we go. And you can see now I can move and everything else is pretty much set up. So I can go in and I have my platforming element set up.